Hello out there, and a fun video topic for you today because we are going to be focusing on all of my discontinued, rare, or odd knives that I have in my collection, and actually a couple knives that aren't in my collection but I happen to have just with me right now. And yeah, this is just going to be a fun talk. I'm going to go through each knife that is just a little bit different or discontinued, and maybe I think it shouldn't have been, or just something that's hard to get your hands on for whatever reason, and just go through all these knives one at a time, very, very briefly, but just give you a look at each one. You know, and most of these knives you probably will have seen on the channel at least once before, but getting them all in one place and seeing like their story is, I think, pretty interesting. And I saw a video that was pretty similar to this idea from my buddy Stasa23 a couple months ago, and I will link to his video and his channel down below. But his was really cool with a lot of old models and things that just aren't around anymore. And I watched that, and I knew that I didn't have a collection anywhere near on the level of his, but I wanted to do a similar video. So this is going to be it, and we're just going to go through everything bit by bit. And let's start with what's in front of you. Obviously not a rare knife because you have a Kershaw leak, but the display model of it is a little bit more hard to come by. And so this is a sample. You know, it's not sharp. It has a dummy blade, and it is something that I guess dealers and just sellers of knives had on display when the Kershaw leak was coming out and speed safe mechanism was new. You know, I do have another similar kind of display thing with the Benchmade mini reptilian with these clear scales that were intended for people to be able to see inside and see how the axis mechanism works. And that's pretty cool. And this is a very similar thing, you know, except with the Kershaw right here, we had basically just a demonstration of the speed safe mechanism. And these were made, I think, with scallions and also with chives as well. But the leak, certainly the most popular of the three. So it says sample, not sharp. And if you are a leak collector, this one actually does have its own number designation. It is the 1660 NE, and NE stands for no edge. So yeah, pretty cool and a little bit rare and odd. But yeah, something that I came across and definitely wanted to pick up and have in the collection. So there's that one. Get the big bulky one out of the way first. And let's move on. I've got a few Kershaws actually that we're going to talk about, interestingly enough. One of them is just a rare one. I did a review on this knife. This is called the Kershaw Beacon. And this is a pretty inexpensive budget blade, but it was only available in certain parts of the country. And my area down here in Florida, I never saw these ever. So maybe you live in a place where you've seen this knife a bunch of times before, but I never really had. And so when I came across it, I picked it up. It's only like a $15, $20 knife. But yeah, it's one that you don't come across very often. And if you do, you should pick it up because it is a very solid stainless steel frame lock, 8CR13 MOV. Again, that's the Kershaw Beacon. All right, and let's move on. Let's show a fun one. We're gonna actually stay with Kershaw. Actually, gonna stay with Kershaw for one more knife, and then we'll get to a couple other ones. So here is one that you might have seen and might remember from a long time ago on the channel. I've shown this one off a couple times. This one is a Blemished model, and I believe the name of the knife is just the Onion Centofonte, the Signature series. And so this is a collaboration between Frank Centofonte and Ken Onion. And this knife came with a sheath, but the Blemished models like this didn't have that sheath because it was just like an aftermarket kind of thing. It was never actually brought to the actual dealers. And the reason why this is a Blemished one is, as you can see, the signatures were just printed like really off center. And so where it says Frank Centofonte, it should be in the middle of the scale, and you can see how it just rolls over. Let me see if we can get that focused better. Which is really interesting. You know, and then on the other side, the Ken Onion is pretty much even. But when you get to the blade, on this side, yep, everything looks pretty standard. But then again, on the other side, look what the Kershaw logo up on the spine. So yeah, it was just crooked. Something happened in like the stamping, and it just went off to an angle. And yeah, anytime that kind of thing happens, like I said, it becomes a blemished blemished piece and never really goes to dealers, but I've never seen one quite this bad. And so when I saw this on eBay, I had to pick it up. So never really a knife that I carried, but just something that is very unique on its own. All right, let's move over to a couple CRKTs. All right, and these will both be knives that you will have seen before. This one actually pretty recently. I can't remember what video I brought this out in, but this is called the Glide Lock. And yeah, there was a Glide Lock 1. I believe this is the Glide Lock 2. Oh yeah, it was for the unique locking mechanisms, right? This is just one of those knives that was discontinued and never really all that popular, I don't think. And yeah, just sort of went away and nobody really kept it alive. So yeah, hopefully I'm doing that. Hopefully if you like this knife and you're interested, maybe you can hunt one down. But yeah, the thing that's odd and interesting about it is that the bolster is the actual locking mechanism. And it's not a great locking mechanism, but this is a pretty lightweight gent style knife, so it isn't really meant to be something all that sturdy. So for what you're going to use it for, letter opening, really like lightweight kind of stuff, it's great. But yeah, just an odd piece and yeah, neat thing to have lying around. The other CRKT is one that I picked up at Blade Show in Atlanta. Just an awesome knife, man. Alan Elishewitz. And this is the CRKT Scarab. There are a few different like Egyptian style named designs from Elishewitz that were popular around this time. And yeah, this is just one of those classic CRKTs that I never get tired of seeing stuff like this. So they're still around and they're still out there. But you don't see very many people carrying knives like this anymore. So, you know, while there are a lot of like old Spydercos and old Benchmades that people really keep alive, a lot of these like CRKTs and Kershaws, because there's so many models from them, they just sort of get forgotten about. So yeah, what else can we get into? All right, well, speaking of Benchmade, so I've talked about this knife a couple times on the channel. This is an old red class knife called the Ambush, and the blade is really jacked up. It was old and used, and I had it like professionally sharpened, and it had to be completely like the profile completely changed of the knife. But it does have this rolling lock, which is just a really interesting locking mechanism, sort of a predecessor to the axis lock, right? Where you have an omega spring and you pull back and it drops, right? So that's all well and good. But one thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is that there are some of these knives that are made by Benchmade, but they have the NRA stamp and logo. So I'm going to bring in the box for this knife right here. So NRA Outdoors, right? NRA knives. So Benchmade had like co-branded basically with them and made knives for this company. And you can see right here, this is the 12-200 Pardue, being Mel Pardue of Benchmade fame, the Pardue rolling lock. And this is just a beautiful knife, a good budget knife with that rolling lock mechanism. So it's very smooth and has good action that I'm sure when it breaks in will be a lot like an axis lock. This is in 440C, made in Taiwan, so really similar to all their red class stuff, but again, just has that NRA brand. And Zach, if you're watching up to this point, man, this is the one right here. So this knife is actually headed to my buddy Zach from Zach Stuff. I picked this up for him, found it, and just a real nice classic piece of Benchmade history if you're a Benchmade guy. Certainly with Mel Pardue being the designer and this locking mechanism. Yeah, just some really cool aspects of this knife that make it nice and collectible for the right fan. And it's actually, you know, pretty darn comfortable in hand and would be a very good EDC cutting tool at a budget price. So, yeah. That is the Pardue rolling lock. All right, we got a couple more things. We're going to go back to Kershaw real quickly with one of my newest acquisitions, actually. This right here is the Kershaw Echelon. And this isn't that old of a knife, but it is discontinued. I might have had it on the channel when I still owned it a couple years ago in the early days. I can't remember. but I was an idiot and I sold this knife and it was discontinued and it went up in value a little bit and was harder to get. And you can see I just like got a used version of it, and it needs to be clean and it's a little bit dirty, but this is USA made, 14C28N. Beautiful looking blade here. And just one of those knives that I don't think should have ever been discontinued. I was actually talking with Zach about this knife earlier tonight, and I said that it should be undiscontinued and that we should make a video about undiscontinued knives. Like, what are the knives that should be brought back? And this would definitely be one of them. Kershaw, making just excellent USA made jade G10. I mean, just a really cool trendy piece before all that jade got super popular a couple of years later. So yeah, there's that one. That's the echelon. And then yeah, I have a couple more knives of mine, and then two from a couple buddies of mine that I'm going to show off too. So this CRKT is one that you've seen before probably on the channel. This is called the Snap-on Relay. And this isn't a hard to come by knife or a rare knife in terms of accessibility, but you just don't see it often because it is a snap-on design exclusively. And it's probably one of my favorite Ken Onion knives that I've ever had. And nobody has it. Just nobody has it. And my review on it was sort of more of a rant than anything else. Like, why would you waste such a good design like this on Snap-on only because nobody has the opportunity to get it, you know, and the pricing is all odd and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, this is an excellent knife, I think. I really like the handle material. If you ever see one of these and you have the opportunity to pick it up and you get it at a decent price, I would highly recommend this, because this knife actually delivers in a lot of ways that some of the other CRKTs of the same size and like price range don't. So last one from me is, yeah, really not a rare one, but it is a Spyderco, the Des Horn. This is just another one of those knives that was a pretty cool gents piece and then just got forgotten about. Don't see a lot of people carrying this knife like ever anymore. I don't think it was particularly popular when it was out, but it is pretty cool because of its like symmetrical kind of look. And it's super lightweight, S30V. Not really the most practical knife for a lot of purposes, but for just like a lightweight gents piece and a really classy polished piece of G10. Yeah, I just like this knife a lot. And it was a gift from my wife. So yeah, pretty cool Spyderco right here. Then I got two that aren't mine. So this first one is from my buddy George, and it's actually part of the group of knives that he sent me to sell. And so this one is actually available, and it's a cold steel in AUS 8, and it is an AK-47, but it is an AK-47 with a not a triad lock. You can see this right here. This is actually, it seems like an axis lock, but it is called the Ultra Lock. And I'm going to pick up the camera. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. But this locking mechanism, look at that. I mean, that, and it's locking up like a vault. It is super smooth. So, yeah, so this is the cold steel AK-47 with an Ultra Lock. And I don't know the history of this locking mechanism. I don't know if it came out before the triad lock was invented, or if it was just like a test or something like that, and it was only around for a while. But you don't see very many of these around anymore either. So just a very cool cool innovation by them, and they might have gotten in trouble for sort of taking the axis lock while it was still patented. So yeah, just a really good design. Also, I've always liked the AK-47 design, and this one is just an absolute beast with a you know, a great fidget factor that honestly triad locks just don't have. So it does do a lot there. All right, so the last one is a knife from another buddy of mine on loan, and it's not particularly legal. So it's not illegal to have, I don't think, but it is one that was not legally allowed to be imported to the United States, and this is the Spyderco Jana. And the Jana, because of the makeup of it, and let's pick this up. So it's sort of like a Spyderco kind of butterfly knife. You see that? So you have that like push button, or that button that you push in and pull out, and it locks the knife into place, and it's actually super comfortable. It's a great blade shape, and yeah, locks into place. And then I guess the thing that's interesting about it is the whole knife, including the liners, is what rotates. So yeah, really, really unique. I guess just because of the way that it's designed, certain aspects of it don't make it necessarily legal in a lot of places in the United States. I'm not sure the details of that, but I do know that Spyderco has said that if this knife is returned to, like, you know, for warranty or anything, to their US factory, that they won't send it back out. So it has to go like to one specific place if you do have issues with it. So yeah, just again, a very odd, unusual knife. Like I said, I unlocked it that way, but the gravity only pulls it if you flip it over. You have the liners and the blade. The blade stops. The liners continue. Yeah. So really interesting, super cool knife. Extremely rare and hard to come by just because it was never intended for United States distribution or for people to have it in this country. So yeah, ending with something a little bit odd and off the wall, and something I think that a lot of collectors are interested in when it comes to Spydercos, but I don't really know because you don't see these very often. And that was sort of the point, guys, just to get a number of knives that people don't really come across all that often for whatever reason. Just get them all into frame at the same time and talk about them. And yeah, so that's what we did. So let me know. Do you have any knives that are similar to this? Anything that you really like that nobody else happens to have, or something that is hard to come by that you've wanted for a long time? Let me know down below. Any other questions or comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, you know where to reach me. But I'll talk with you soon. Thanks very much for watching, and have a good one. Okay, guys. Have a good one, sure, but hold off 1 minute. So I want to do something special, something a little bit different. So as you know, if you followed the channel for a while, it is almost Thanksgiving, and right around Thanksgiving, I roll out the 3-knife holiday giveaway. And the 2 years I've done it, it's turned into a 4-knife holiday giveaway, and it's going to be the same this year. The first 3 knives are going to be given away in the giveaway post, as you would expect, but the 4th one is going to be a special entry one. And there are going to be a couple videos over the next couple weeks where there are some surprise sort of ways to enter. So if you want to enter and be eligible for the 4th knife, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, it's going to be a knife package actually. But if you want to enter for that, then comment on this video, and in your comment, just add a number. All right? So add a number into your comment, and you'll be entered into that 4th prize package. So everyone in that holiday giveaway is going to be entered for the 3 main knives, but only the people who enter here and maybe one other video up until that giveaway post are going to be able to be entered for the 4th one. So if you're still watching 18.5 minutes in, you might be one of the few who's got the edge for that last prize package. All right. So again, comment down below and just put a number in it at some point for whatever reason. Number 5, 14, 303, whatever it is. All right, guys. And yeah, more later, but that'll be a good start. All right. Thanks again for watching. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.